Hi, if you know somebody who's going through a divorce, then this message is for you. My name is Neil Foster. I'm a member of the Hillside Vineyard congregation in Johannesburg. And I recently had a situation where friends of mine are getting divorced, and they're in ministry. And it seems unthinkable, but it's got very messy. And I was praying with the husband. And when I prayed, I did what I've learned to do recently is I say, God, what are you doing so that I can then do what I see you doing? That's the model that Jesus gave us. So my exact words were to him were, Father, what are you doing in this mess? And he graciously gave me an awesome vision. In fact, it was a vision that progressed. And through that, he gave me a very, very clear message. And I think it's a message that will really, really help you. Hence, I'm doing a video because I've spoken to a couple of people, but if I put it in video, you can, it's much more powerful. You can pass it around and so on. I don't have to be in relationship with you to be able to help you. So let me just unpack the vision. The first thing I saw was a chuppah. And a chuppah is something that the Jews would use to get married under. It kind of looks like a gazebo. And I think it was normally white. In this case, I saw a white chuppah, and it was up in the sky. There was a break in the clouds. It was a beautiful scene. There was like sun shining through. And in this opening between the clouds was this chuppah up there. And I knew that what he was saying is he's looking at the covenant, because that's where the covenant is made. And this particular couple that I was married, that are busy being divorced, they got married under chuppah. And I was there standing with a group of men, and I think women, I'm not sure, but we stood around them and we witnessed the covenant. And we undertook to protect this covenant, to do our bit to protect the covenant. So the vision, let's get back to the vision. I saw this chuppah up there. Then the scene changed, and I suddenly saw a scene from their wedding. I saw they open the floor, which would be the dance floor. And around the side I saw the tables with these white tablecloths draped to the ground, and it reminded me of in Revelations it talks about the saints wearing these robes of white, which signifies their righteous acts. And then the vision changed, and I saw a semicircle of the witnesses, people watching the wedding. And they were also wearing white robes. And to me, I'm asking, what are you doing in the mess? And he's showing me the covenant, and he's showing the witnesses. And then just when that started registering with me, I saw this chain, a very beautiful chain, thick chain, strong chain, and it was being struck violently. And I knew that the picture is one of a covenant being violently broken. So I've sat with this for a week or so, and I've prayed about it and discussed this, and it's become very clear to me that this parable that God has given to me, that I've now unpacked and understood, I'm going to unpack with you quickly, and hopefully it'll really, really benefit you. So God's answer, in short, to my question is, what are you doing in the mess? He said, I'm watching the witnesses. In fact, the trouble is I'm watching the witnesses, and they're standing around doing various things. So what are they doing? And I've realized that they are in 4 different camps. And I'm bringing my experience to bear. I personally was divorced about 25 years ago. And I saw what happened then, and I've witnessed a whole lot of other divorces. And let me just give you my testimony quickly. In my divorce, when my wife divorced me, it started fairly amicable actually. And as things progressed, the accusation started, and I found that my friends became polarized. Our friends became polarized, and almost all of them backed her, and I was the baddie. And the stories I used to hear, I think, well, I'm actually in the story, and that's not true. But it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to defend myself. What I'm trying to say is that a whole lot of my friends took sides. Most of them took sides, except for one. One person didn't take sides. And one person out of all my friends and people at my church and so on, only one person didn't take sides, didn't judge, never had a bad word to say about the other, prayed for reconciliation with me. Whenever I spoke about it, they were like, yes, but God, but God, but God. And I'm happy to say that about 6 years later or so, 7 years later, I married that one person. And that was 20 years ago. We've been married for 22 years now. So that's my testimony in terms of having experienced the divorce firsthand. I have another story where I had a friend who, he was an Anglican minister, and he's an evangelist by calling, and he wanted to go and save the world. He wanted to get out there and do this stuff, and his wife was more of a stay-at-home woman, even though she was also an evangelist in nature. And he decided to divorce her. So a friend and I, we sat him down and we read him the Riot Act. We had a good discussion with him. We told him what it was obvious. We all know what God feels about divorce. But we spoke about it, and we said, you know, our message is, if you love Jesus, how can you divorce somebody? Because God hates divorce. And we have a ministry of reconciliation. How can we break up? How can we be such poor witnesses? And we said all this to him, which we all know, and he still stuck to his guns. And we had to say to him, look, we are trying to stay in fellowship with Jesus, and if you are disobeying him and yet still saying you're in fellowship, you're not in fellowship with us. And we actually had to say to him, we can no longer fellowship with you because you've broken the fellowship. And that's pretty much all we could do. We can't manipulate him. We just told him the truth, told him that we were there. If he needed help, we were there. That's all we could do. And we broke fellowship with him. And 5 years later, 5 or 6 years later, he'd got remarried already. He bumped into my friend who the two of us sat him down. And he said to him, you know, you were right. You were right when you and Neil spoke to me, but it's too late now. I'm remarried. Too late to do much about it, but you were right. And then I have another testimony. That one failed. Our attempt failed there. Another testimony where somebody in my home group, he decided to divorce his wife. He decided he no longer loved her. That's what he said to us. And he was going to divorce her. And we sat him down and we basically told him how we saw things. He was a fairly new Christian. And we put before him, we said, you know, if you love Jesus, you'll do what he says and what he loves. And he gives us a ministry of reconciliation. How can we not reconcile? And if you are married to somebody, you can ask God to give you power to love them. We don't do this by ourselves. We need God's help. And, you know, he repented. He repented, and he didn't divorce his wife, and they reconciled, and I bumped into him a little while ago, and they're still married, happily married. He said he's well. You know, so there was a success. And why I'm telling you these three stories is because they are powerful stories, and what they do is they show you that what our role as a witness. You know, God's looking at the witnesses, and the witnesses fall into four camps, as I see it. The first camp is the apathetic. They just look the other way. They say, not my worry, not my fight. I'm just going to leave. You know, just it's terrible, it's horrible, but I don't know what to do. That's the first camp. The second camp is those who pray, who say, yes, I'm praying, but they're doing nothing else. And my word to you is that that's good, but not good enough. You know, when you were invited to the wedding, you didn't just say a little prayer for them, or lots of prayers for that matter. You didn't anguish a prayer of weeks on end. You might have prayed a prayer, and you went there, and you blessed them physically with your presence. You might have given them a gift, and you prayed for them at the wedding, and you were witness to the sacred covenant. A sacred covenant, it's sacred. You make this covenant before God. It becomes a three-way covenant. And so it's not good enough just to pray. You need to pray and do. Faith without works is dead. And then that's the second camp. The third camp, this is the very, very dangerous camp. This is the camp where you take sides. Now, I saw this firsthand. I saw a whole lot of people take sides and become my accusers. They were my friends. They were witnesses to my wedding, and they became my accusers. Now, we all know the accuser of the brethren accuses the saints before the throne of God every day. And when you're in that camp, it's easy to even pray and accuse who you think is the party of fault before the Father. And you join the camp of the accuser. And I'm calling you, please, come out of that camp. Do not stand in accusation. Put away the pointing finger. You know, Isaiah 58 talks about the true fast. It says, put away the pointing finger. So stop pointing fingers, and we have a ministry of reconciliation. So that brings me to the fourth camp. The fourth camp is the camp of the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are children of God. We are sons and daughters of God. And we have a ministry of reconciliation. And we have the Holy Spirit to help us. So don't say, I'm not a marriage counselor. You're a friend. You're a witness. If you're a witness to a wedding and you know you can see them entering into a divorce, our job as witnesses is to pray and do everything in our power to bring this couple to the place where, firstly, they decide not to be divorced. In other words, they don't break the covenant. And then afterwards, there's still the ministry of reconciliation. And you might have a greater or lesser part. But if you're always speaking life into the situation to both parties, you're not condemning the other party. Yes, there is sin. Who hasn't sinned? Everyone acknowledges there's sin on both parties. It takes two to tango. But there's a reconciliation that happens afterwards, and try and be a part of that as well. So the reason for this video is I'm trying to do what I see the Father doing, and I'm looking at you witnesses, and I'm holding you accountable. I'm saying, what are you doing? Are you standing by idly? Are you praying and saying, I'm doing that's enough? Or are you actually standing in accusation of one of the parties? Or are you being a peacemaker? And if you're not being a peacemaker, I'm calling you into that camp. Come and be a peacemaker and do everything in your power to bring peace and to stop the sacred covenant being broken. So I hope this helped you. I got lots of scriptural references. You know, in this video, I'm going to leave comments below open. So by all means, let's ask questions. We can enter into discussion. We can even put scriptures in there. I don't really see what we're going to do there. I'm not trying to build something. I'm just saying, let's do everything in our power to be a good witness and to stop this happening. And what I'm doing right now, everything in my power, part of what I'm doing is this video. So I hope it's really blessed you and helped you. And like I said, you're welcome to comment below and ask questions and give input. We don't do this thing alone. Thank you.